A young boy named Tom was special in many ways. His family had always noticed that he had a unique connection to animals, but from a very young age it was clear that his greatest passion lay in dogs. This bond between him and dogs was almost magical, and his parents recognized this affinity early on. Even as a toddler, when Tom was only 2 years old, he displayed this fascination in playful but telling ways. He loved to mimic dogs barking, growling, and sometimes even moving around on all fours. His family would laugh, watching him pretend with such dedication, spending entire days being a dog. Every time Tom went outside, his attention was captured by any dog he saw, whether it was a neighbor's pet or a stray wandering by. It didn't matter if the dog was large, small, fluffy, or sleek, Tom wanted to play with each and every one. His enthusiasm was contagious, and it became apparent to his parents that bringing a dog into their home might be a wonderful way to nurture this special interest. Eventually, they brought home a sweet little puppy for Tom, a female dog with a gentle disposition named Lynn. When Tom saw Lynn for the first time, his joy knew no bounds. He fell in love instantly, and from that moment on, they became inseparable. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories. Tom and Lynn spent countless hours together, developing a friendship that went beyond the ordinary bond between a child and a pet. Lynn would follow him around everywhere, from the house to the yard, and even to the curb where Tom would sit to watch the world go by. Lynn became Tom's best friend, his loyal companion in every adventure and mischief he could dream up. His parents were delighted to see their son so happy, knowing that Lynn was truly the perfect companion for Tom. One sunny afternoon, however, something unexpected happened. Tom was sitting on the curb, peacefully observing the world, when a giant, unfamiliar dog crossed his path. Taken by surprise, Tom let out a scream that echoed through the street. His family came running to see what was wrong, but the dog had disappeared as quickly as it had come. They thought the incident was strange, but nothing more. Little did they know that it was the beginning of a much bigger ordeal. As the days passed, Tom and his family noticed that Lynn, too, had started acting strangely. One evening, the family checked their video surveillance out of curiosity and found something unusual. Lynn had been circling the house multiple times as if searching for something, and then, to their shock, they saw her run off into the woods behind their house. They couldn't figure out what had driven her to act this way. Had she been startled by something, or was she simply following her instincts? The family was left with more questions than answers. Unfortunately, their questions soon turned to worry when they realized that Lynn was missing. They searched every corner of the house, hoping that she was simply hiding somewhere, but as the hours turned into days, their hopes began to fade. Lynn was nowhere to be found. Tom's little heart was shattered, his world turned upside down. His beloved companion had disappeared without a trace, leaving him devastated and lost. The family soon realized how Lynn had managed to escape. They discovered that the kitchen window had been left open, likely by accident. Lynn must have jumped onto the table and squeezed through, an impressive feat for a young dog, but she had always been clever and determined. The problem was, the window was far too high for her to get back in on her own. Tom's parents felt terrible, knowing that their oversight had likely led to Lynn's disappearance. They tried to comfort Tom, assuring him that they would do everything they could to find her. Searching for Lynn proved to be a daunting task. The woods behind their house stretched for miles, making it nearly impossible to cover every inch. Nevertheless, they were determined to try. Together with their neighbors, Tom's parents combed through the dense forest, calling out Lynn's name and hoping she would somehow hear them. Tom himself joined in the search, his little voice filled with desperation as he called for his beloved friend. But days turned into weeks, and still there was no sign of Lynn. Tom's parents didn't want to give up hope. They even left the back door open all day and night, hoping that Lynn might somehow find her way back home. But as 5 days passed without any sign of her, their hearts grew heavy. The house felt empty, and Tom's sadness was palpable. The little boy who had once been so full of life and laughter now wore a constant expression of sorrow. His tears seemed endless, and his parents felt powerless to ease his pain. The family continued searching, reaching out to nearby shelters and animal control, but no one had seen Lynn. After over a month of searching, they were forced to accept that Lynn might never return. With heavy hearts, Tom's parents sat him down to deliver the painful news. They explained that they had tried everything they could think of to find Lynn, but they were unable to bring her back. In a gentle voice, they offered him the chance to choose a new puppy from the pet store or the shelter. But Tom's reaction was not what they expected. He shook his head, refusing to even consider the idea of a new puppy. "No dog can replace Lynn," he said with conviction. His bond with her was so unique, so special, that the idea of finding a replacement was unthinkable to him. For Tom, Lynn was irreplaceable. He told his parents that he didn't want to go through the pain of losing another dog. His sadness overwhelmed him, and he cried for what felt like hours. In the days that followed, Tom retreated into himself. He spent hours alone in his room, rarely coming out except when absolutely necessary. His parents tried their best to be patient, hoping that time would heal his broken heart. But as weeks turned into months, Tom's sadness deepened. He became withdrawn and sullen, losing interest in everything he had once loved. This transformation affected his school life as well. Tom no longer wanted to go to class, often refusing to get out of bed in the mornings. When he did go to school, his behavior was disruptive and defiant. He would lash out at his teachers, snap at his classmates, and seemed to go out of his way to cause trouble. Eventually, the situation grew so severe that the school decided it would be best for Tom to be homeschooled. His parents agreed, hoping that being in a familiar environment might help him heal. But even at home, Tom's behavior remained difficult. His mother watched helplessly as her once loving son seemed to slip further away. She was on the verge of a breakdown herself, feeling overwhelmed by the sadness that had taken over their home. One rainy afternoon, she found Tom sitting by the window, staring outside with a distant look in his eyes. She could tell he was thinking of Lynn, and her heart broke for him. 2 years passed this way, with Tom carrying the weight of his loss. His family had tried to comfort him in every way they could, but nothing seemed to fill the void left by Lynn's absence. One day, as Tom sat outside on the curb, lost in thought, a large brown dog appeared across the street. It barked twice, catching Tom's attention. He looked up, startled, and then felt his heart skip a beat. The dog's eyes were familiar, as though they held memories of long walks, warm cuddles, and endless games. Tom's heart raced as he realized who it was: Lynn. He ran toward her, wrapping his arms tightly around her neck. Lynn licked his face, her tail wagging furiously. Tom's parents heard his joyful cries and rushed outside, their eyes filling with tears as they saw their son reunited with his best friend. But Lynn wasn't alone. She led Tom and his family to a spot near the edge of the woods, where 3 tiny puppies lay nestled in the grass. Lynn had become a mother during her time away, and now she had brought her family back to the home she had never forgotten. Tom's heart was filled with joy. He helped bring the puppies inside, and his family welcomed them with open arms. The house was once again filled with laughter, love, and the sounds of playful barking. Tom's sadness lifted, and he returned to school, happier and more connected than ever before. His classmates welcomed him back, and soon he had a group of friends who came over to play with Lynn and her puppies. With Lynn back by his side and her puppies bringing new joy into their lives, Tom felt whole once again. The little boy who had once been lost in sadness had found his way back, thanks to the love and loyalty of a very special dog. And from that day forward, Tom knew that no matter what life threw at him, he would always have a friend by his side.